Assistindo Porcaria mais Posicionamento ridiculamente questionável da webcam 4, dia 2 de março de 2025. Só deixa eu... Porra! Tá pegando a droga no meu rosto? Caralho. Deixa eu ver um negócio. É um negócio tão... questionável. Ó, será hoje, né? Ontem eu saí pela Fernanda Torres. Eu ainda estou aqui, mas não. Mas então questionável que o cara tem que consertar porque não tá pegando o rosto dele. E ele continua cortando o rosto dele. Age. Vem. Tá melhor agora? Não, tá péssimo, tá uma porcaria ainda. Puta que pariu, caralho, não sei. Deixa eu ver se eu tirar o pandeiro. Tá de sacanagem com a minha cara, né, cara? Cariúba. Qual é o próximo passo? Tirar a webcam do pedestal? Do tripé, porra? Aqui. Nossa, que bosta, mano. Queria pegar mais amplo, pegar um mesa também. Tá muito perto. Caralho. Dependendo como for, eu... Aqui tá por um cair. Pera aí. Essa live tem especial, né, pra vocês, né? Idiota, imbecil, retardado aqui, trocando a câmera de lugar toda hora, ó. Olha o cinto de bala do otário. Será que chega até... É muito longe. Não chega até... Não chega. Ai, peraí. E aqui? Não, você vai pra cá, cara. Tá péssimo. Mas vai ter que... Dá pra parar de se mexer sozinho, caralho? Vai ser assim. Não dá? Pera aí, deixa eu... Deixa eu ver, porque vai ter que sentar perto da cadeira, então já... Olha eu como tenho que colocar a posição pra ficar do jeito que eu quero. Porra. É mais uma live de Sir Peter Marks no canal no colégio brigando com a posição da webcam. Puta que pariu. Tem que parar de falar tudo palavrão nessas lives, velho. Eu vou testar uma posição muito boa aqui, ó. Olha que posição maravilhosa. A câmera já se permitindo vocês verem onde tá, né? Ó. Será que assim dá certo? E aí, vocês vê assim o vídeo? Não vai dar certo, né? O ventilador. Ai, que imbecil, idiotice, velho. Mas já imaginou prender a câmera em cima do ventilador? Pra uma live dessa, eu acho que uma hora eu tento fazer isso. Colocar em cima do ventilador e ficar lá. Zum, zum. Vocês com certeza já que eu, sei lá, eu faço essa live completamente chapado, né? Fim de semana foi bom, inclusive. Conheci gente nova, No bar, é claro. Tá na posição questionável agora. Puta que pariu. Pô, essa droga de live ficar numa posição ridícula. Porra. Foda-se, vai ficar na minha perna gravando pra trás, né? Tá, vamos ver daqui. Daqui dá? Daqui. Ela. Se eu não colher essa perninha, eu acho que sim. Assim não vai dar certo. Isso dá certo pra você ficar a live inteira. Tô vendo o vídeo aqui, de pé. É, costura. Ou tipo. A webcam desrosqueou. Do tripé, que bosta, velho. Eu tô rosqueando ela de volta. Não era pra ter saído do tripé, cacete. Imagina você ver a live do cara que é assim de pé desse jeito. Tamo vendo um vídeo muito legal aqui. E aí o cara pega uma bermuda e começa a costurar. Esse é ridículo demais. Como se a live já não estivesse sendo ridícula, né? Mas ela tá sendo muito ridícula. Hoje a conexão tá bem melhor que na sexta. E lasqueira. Quem me viu no bar no sábado, eu tava usando um harness, né? Roupa de BDSM, porra. Hoje não tem música nova pra mostrar. Até mesmo que eu não sou aqueles otários de música de inteligência artificial que lançam um álbum a cada 2, 3 dias. Eu sou um cara normal, tipo. Lancei 2 músicas em janeiro, eu lanço tipo uma no final de fevereiro. Daí eu passo uma cota assim, só editando o álbum. Daí sabe sei lá quando sai o álbum, pô. E eu não vou dar spoilers do álbum. Do Cancheres. Do cálice de esperma. Do puta que pariu, o cabo do fone prendeu no bolso da minha calça. Bermuda. Bermuda. Água. Ventilador. Amanhã eu vou ver se consigo gravar live, que eu vou entrar no período da manhã no trabalho. Não, da hora que, tipo assim, eu esqueço de editar o negócio da captura de tela. Eu só me lembro de colocar na janela certa. Tá aqui o. Vou tomar. Tá. Bom, vamos lá. Isso. Ou isso. Ou a gente olha o que tá aqui. No histórico. É muito super que eu tô apontando pra tela com o dedo também, né? Vamos abrir o histórico. Não é como se fosse ter nada. Vamos abrir o histórico. Tem o quê? Vídeo meu. Vou mostrar pra um cara no bar. Não, pera aí. Não, se for assistir numa quinta, vocês vão sofrer, seus filhos da puta. Vocês vão ver o cara que tem fetiche em pão de forma. Isso mesmo. Pera, eu achava que eu já tinha...
Vai de Drive, define um valor.
Nós já assisti esse vídeo.
In Drive, preço justo, jogo justo.
Ah, tá, não, tá com captura de áudio, sim. Ótimo!
Note that since people charge different rates and you have to calculate all those different rates.
Não. Vamos pro começo. Mas jurar que já tinha atrás de assistir o filme do...
So what is ClickUp? I'm happy you asked. Let me tell you. So what is... If you just give me a second to explain, I'm gonna tell you. So what is ClickUp? Listen, man, I'm trying something here.
E é assim que eu vou falar. Eu achei que eu já tinha terminado de assistir o vídeo do cara com fetiche em pão de... em mulheres bonitas e malvadas comprando pão de forma. Exatamente sobre isso que esse vídeo é. É sobre um cara com fetiche, que faz arte de fetiche de mulheres bonitas, muito fortes e malvadas, comprando pão de forma. Da marca Underbread.
A beautiful,
super excessivo.
soft, freshly cut piece of bread and just thought to yourself, I'd fuck this. You are not alone. If there's one thing we know about the vast sea of art available on the internet, it's that any and every piece of artwork is liable to get someone's jollies off, if you know what I mean. But we're not talking the usual fare. Inflation, Skibbity Sonic, pregnant Bart Simpson. Because where it gets interesting is when you stumble upon art so wacky, so uncanny in how mundane it is, that it hits you. This is the weirdest thing you've ever seen.
Jesus.
Because this is absolutely somebody's fetish. But how do you just know? And more importantly, is there really a man out there who just gets off to art of women buying Wonder Bread at the store? On this channel, we treat art history with the seriousness it deserves. Today's lesson, how an obscure DeviantArt tier fetish experienced by only one man in all of humanity nearly ruined his life. This is the story of the DeviantArt Wonder Bread Man. The year was 2016. Harambe, Pokemon go to the polls, and a bright-eyed 24-year-old man with tons of dough and nothing to spend it on. And this is kind of where the trouble begins. Murlogic, known also as Murlogic 1, quietly began his commission career in 2013, but would take several years before people online started to notice something anomalous. Rumors quickly began to percolate about a mysterious individual who would stop at nothing to commission any artist he could possibly reach to draw him two very specific things: white woman Wonder Bread art and sexy deforestation. And if you think I'm joking about that last one...
Here's Johnny!
Enter DeviantArt. Around March 18th, 2016, Murlogic created his DeviantArt account and soon thereafter uploaded his first commissioned work, an artwork aptly titled A Gated White Bread Community. In a prototype of his later popular commissions, this artwork features Asami from The Legend of Korra being dutifully served a white bread and mayonnaise sandwich by an enslaved Winter from the show Ruby. And that was the beginning of the end for anyone with eyes. Because since that fateful post, Murlogic has spent in excess of 4 to 5 figures on dozens and dozens and dozens of similar commissioned artworks featuring evil, wealthy, malicious, thick blonde women buying surreal amounts of Wonder Bread at the grocery store. And it does have to be Wonder Bread. And bear in mind that 4 to 5 figures may be a conservative estimate. Funny Junk certainly thinks so. And as Murlogic himself somewhat confirms in our recent Discord call.
The answer is nobody knows, and I don't even know, so that means no one is ever going to know, but just note that since people charge different rates and you have to calculate all those different rates. It's like an impossibly incomprehensible number. So to make, fun out of it, when people say, how much money have you realistically spent? I'm like, I don't know. How much money is there in the Federal Reserve? How much gold bricks are there in Fort Knox?
So sure, he spent a ton of money on it. And sure, it would probably burst into flame if permitted within 200 feet of a school zone. But how do we know, without a shadow of a doubt, that this isn't just innocent, if very weird-looking fan art? Let's quickly go over the anatomy of fetish art. So let's take a step back for a second. Try and remember a time when you were scrolling mindlessly and you came upon an illustration that contained nothing of any adult nature, yet had a bizarre focus on something that felt out of place. Not a meme, a regular, sincere drawing. Something in the back of your brain may have been signaling to you, there's something here that I don't quite understand, and it's making me uncomfortable, but what the hell is it? And that's the rub with fetish art. You know it when you see it, and you don't know why. So here are some reliable ways to tell. A bizarre emphasis on what should be an unimportant part of the scene. An outfit no normal woman would ever wear. A setting usually detached from time and space and existing for a highly singular purpose. And a scenario that in the real world would play out as deeply mentally ill behavior. And a lot of the time, there's nothing sexual in it. That's the craziest thing. And that is what makes it simultaneously so easy to spot and yet so hard to describe. Now, artistically, Murr's commissions are nothing crazy, right? You have your basic rule of thirds composition, and occasionally you have an explanatory caption. Murr Logic prefers a semi-anime or kind of like blended Western cartoony look, though he does make exceptions for My Little Pony AI. You know you're dealing with a Murr classic if you can spot a mean, mom-coded hot blonde with Hartman hips, either in the process of mowing down a forest to make a sandwich factory, or just buying the bread herself in the store. It's all part of the fetish. Bonus points if she's loudly discussing on the phone her plans for world domination and gloating over how evil and greedy she is. My guess is that's a little bit of exhibitionism, but we'll never know. So the burning question, right? Why Wonder Bread?
What does it take to lead in a world that never stands still? Not just to lead people.
Why this? And how do you even figure out that you're into this? 2018, a massive year for the white woman Wonder Bread fandom and a gift to curious minds everywhere. Because as Murr Logic himself explained,
This actually goes way farther back. Like, we're talking like all the way into my childhood. One example I can tell you off the top of my head is when I went on the Dick show, and Dick asked the question, I was like, what was your first earliest memory of this? And he was shocked when I gave him the answer when I said, well, when I was watching Dexter's Lab.
Deixa eu mostrar pro meu Deus, eu quero colocar um negócio no Bruno. Vocês vão sofrer mais ainda. Vou mostrar esse vídeo muito tranqueiro na internet agora.
Welcome to the cum zone. Only cum inside anime girls. Quivering clit, double-jointed pussy. Fresh balls.
Isso aqui é uma música real,
elegant ejaculation. First the kiss, then the cum. My dick is in love with pain. Co-op cock torture. Stuff my dick into a furnace. Stitch my cock shut. Pressure cook my greasy balls. Come blast me and make it snappy. Come, 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 What's all the commotion? My dad fell into a cum shaft. My dad glazed my face with cum. Fertilize a baby with hunk spunk. Cum spunk in my trunk. Cum craving toddler. Cum drippin' cunt. Cummy Ray Jespin. Cum me maybe. Cummy bottom boy. Night of the living cum. Nefarious cum mastermind. Cum makes me fearless. Cum Cranmer. Cock slammer. Cum slammed ya mum. Mail your mom's pieces of my dick. Bazinga. Chug the cum. Fuck ya mum. Fuck my asshole. Full of cum. 3 little words. Get fucked, nerd. Cum stuffer. Jankum huffer. Fuck my cum puddle. Bottom stuffer. Semen huffer. Would love a gator to fuck me. Undercooked baby pig penises. Help my dogs get a huge boner. Water bomb full of cat cum. Accidentally fucked my own ass. I barely had any dicks inside me. Who ate all my cum? A mystery. Cum detective, hot on the trail. Bees make honey. I make cummy.
Isso não é o fim. Tem a parte 2, a parte 3 e a parte 4.
It was a mistake to come
Sério,
here.
isso aqui é muito idiota.
Your cum sucks dick. A splash of cum to seal the deal. Council of cum. All-consuming Lord of cum. Dick. Heir of the cum throne. Swallow your rod. Cum suck God. Cum Messiah. Give me the cum scar. Tight fuckable dick hole. Cum cruiser. How wet is your pussy exactly? Man, shut the fuck up, nerd. Pub dunked by my white
Foi
fat
muito
cock.
legítimo
Your
ao
GF
Assistindo
pussy
Porcaria.
is like my cum. I actually beat a nerd to death. Tired of coming in nerd pussy. Congratulations, future cum lords. I shape fates and I crush dudes. Get paid money to worship Satan. Making this much cum ain't easy. Execution by excessive cum. You gonna get pounded and creamed. Russian roulette with a cum gun. You got one sick dick, bitch. Cum drooling, moaning slut. Stuff some cum in my butt. Suck my big fat juicy ball sack. You will suck cum from my dick. Ass is running on cum vapors. Hands off the cum stash, bubs. Speedy cum dealer. Fucked child. Just chillin'. Cum villain. Come, all ye faithful. Cum fucked God in his asshole. Come proud, come loud. Fucked up, now you're cum. Make bank, smoke dank. Stop the cum ocean. Slurp cum, then I burp cum. Living large, eat cum and smile. Eat a cum noon, fuck up, bitch.
E a parte 3.
Father of lies.
Aí eu não lembro se tem realmente a parte 4 já começada. Não, é a parte 4, só tem o teaser ainda. É isso, lembrei.
Going to fuck your dad. Coming high into the morning sky. Vape come from my bum till I die. Watching Arthur with a cock in my ass. Riding hard. Eating ass masterclass. Sacred cum blade. A fuckling crusade. Fatal cum theft. Give me cum or give me death. Elon's Musk. Jesus crust. Stealing donations from the cum czar's trust. A cum smoothie. Gulp smoothly. Consume the cum chalice. Fuck everyone named Alex. David Hater. Cum crusader. The holy cum wars. pussy is aching. Cum fooler, semen drooler, forbidden cum spice. Your shitbox looks nice. Life is a cage, and death is the key. All your cum are belong to me. Normalize crying over spilt cum. Making cum angels with my son. I fucked a fairy in half. How many holes does a human have? My butt and cunny are in agony. Castration in the sky, your penis will fly. Scrotum chambers, semen sailors. Mommy's cum tax, grind my balls on an axe. Cum scented candle, cum broiled eggs. Cum Christ consciousness, third eye, cum spy. Cum squote sailboat, semen speed racer. Off-road, cum chode, my uterus came out. Cum treasurer, dick measurer. Irresponsible manager of cum. A cum slave, back from the grave. The price for breaking a cum oath. James Hector, cum key lector. I tripped in the cum keeper's crypt. Cum feeder, moist meter. Sans undertale, the cum reaper. Fucking a skeleton, right in the pussy. The dark souls of cum. Cum framed and cum blamed. Cum drowning awareness day. Brewing cum fuel after school. Your nipples are crunchy. The tragic cum sponge. Your cum is fading. Sweep up the cum flakes, Joan.
E aqui o teaser da parte 4 disso daí. Acho que é só instrumental isso aí, não tem, sabe, letra. Acho que a gente tem. Eu vou ter que esperar sair a parte 4, sabe? Tem um ano que o cara já lançou, mas. É assim mesmo, os teasers das partes 2 e 3 é a mesma coisa, cara. Demorou mais de um ano pra lançar o negócio completo.
One day, and I was watching the episode where Dee Dee and Dexter are forced to be in each other's rooms. Dee Dee, you know, has now full access to Dexter's lab, and if anybody who's ever Dexter's lab knows, Dee Dee likes to break things. Dexter has these horrible nightmare sequences where Dee Dee is immediately rampaging inside his lab and just breaking things. And I'm sitting down and I'm watching Dee Dee in these nightmare sequences destroy Dexter's lab, and I'm enthralled with it. Like, I can't look away. It's just so shamelessly evil.
And you may be thinking to yourself, this is absolutely crazy. This gotta be like the only dude who's ever been into this stuff.
É, não é, né?
As this funny junk anon explains in a thread later that year, I have the same fetish as this guy, so let me try and explain. It's a power dynamic thing. Girls belittling people and being cruel is a common fetish, and that same type of behavior is often displayed in cartoons by characters destroying the environment. As for the mayo, smoking, and processed foods, that's a bit of an extension to the anti-environmentalism stuff, since those are seen as unhealthy or unnatural. The idea is that the girl, with disdain for the earth or natural things, is polluting her own body with things that are unhealthy. And he goes on. In other words, This guy likes doming via white bread. But he also likes the visceral greed, right? It's not just the doming, it's the total disrespect for the environment and the absolutely irrational consuming desire to take anything good and wholesome and natural and corrupt it into something corporate and bland. It's somewhere between a doming thing and a corruption thing, and it seems that the bread is just where his mind landed. One thing that Merlogic makes an effort to cite is the fact that Dr. Blight from Captain Planet perfectly encapsulates this mentality.
It dawned on me, it's like, is Captain Planet the only instance where they had one villain who's a female who hates the environment? And it dawned on me, it's like, why am I not commissioning this right now? And that's the story of how all these evil women came to be.
She's an utter simplification of the concept of greed in a package that a child can understand. And clearly, something about this had quite the impact on him. Not to mention the one sequence where she becomes giant, but I feel like that doesn't factor in here, but if you know, you know. But no discussion of Merlogic could ever be complete without addressing the controversy.
Você já viu o vídeo suficiente sobre
Shadman.
isso pra entender isso daí.
I promise this is relevant. For those who don't know,
The what?
Shadman is a deeply controversial artist whose claim to fame can best be summed up as drawing hentai of his mother.
Não, você percebe que assim, que o... Eu ouvi o nome desse filho de uma... Eu travei. Assim, reação pós-traumática.
Of real people's children, and occasionally Teen Titans and Overwatch. While the Shad lore is extensive and disgusting and frankly deserving of its own video, suffice to say that this is an artist who's been around the block in terms of drawing objectionable content. But what goes up must come down. And though 2018 was a great year for the Wonder Bread art world, it wasn't without its major drawbacks. Sometime that year, Merlogic contacted Shadman hoping for a commission. Notably, Merlogic claims that at this time he was not aware of Shadman's reputation whatsoever.
Before I even got to that point, you know, I'm just a little young Mer going around asking people for different commissions. I don't do background checks on any of the characters that I, you know, ask for commissions because, you know...
So let me stop you right there. One quick thing. I'm just curious how that's the case because Shadman is the type of guy where his reputation absolutely precedes him, and I would find it very difficult to approach him for art, not knowing anything about him, you know?
Look, I know it sounds unbelievable, but I truly do believe that I am the commission equivalent of Forrest Gump, where I just run into people and I just ask them stuff, and then one thing leads to another.
And somehow, despite being denied a commission request by a borderline world-famous internet pedophile, it was only downhill from there. And as more and more people became familiar with Merlogic's antics, he ceased to be an actual human being and started to embody this avatar of utter DeviantArt degeneracy. And it was kind of obscurity ever since. So where is Merlogic in current year? In researching this video, I have come across no fewer than 127 unique Merlogic commissions, and those were only the ones that I could find by crawling Google Images. The legacy lives on. Merlogic is still very active online, and he often receives free Wonder Bread art through Twitter, where he has also made extensive use of the reply feature whenever he sees an artwork or a character that he deems mer-coded. And there is mer-coded lore, but frankly, I covered all the prerequisites, so, like, you know it when you see it. While it seems that Wonder Bread fetish art outlived its peak popularity some years ago, it is not gone by any stretch of the imagination. And while DeviantArt is obviously past its prime, you must remember that DeviantArt did for weird fetish art what Fire did for the human race, and that's worth admiring. And with the advent of AI, the coom is seemingly endless. One can only hope that unlike weird art drama of years past, this new generation of Wonder Bread art will continue to live on without controversy and not go stale.
This guy stinks!
This has been a lesson in art history.
Esse é o cara do fetiche em pão de forma. Tá na hora de traumatizar vocês. Mais.
DeviantArt fetishes. They're like bedbugs. For every one you know about, there's 100 you don't. And while the internet gives us unlimited access to the depths of the Coomer mind, what happens when a fetish is too freaky? even for 4chan? When does a shitpost become fetish art? And when does cringe cross the line into child endangerment? As you well know by now, if it exists, someone is into it. And in the darkest corners of DeviantArt.com lurks a man whose fetish is so inexplicable, it elicits a knee-jerk reaction in everyone who sees it. A man whose name is known to very few, but whose artwork pissed off thousands. A man who needs no introduction. This is the tragic story of the DeviantArt Big Knee Guy. Today's art history lesson: knees, rage bait, and Rule 34. If you're a returning viewer, I hope you like the new look, because the old one was kind of... Let's travel back to 2015. Obama was prime minister. It would only be 1 year until it was finally the current year, and an anonymous individual going by the name Big Knee Lover would set up an account on DeviantArt.com. And one look at his page reveals something very interesting. Why does an account with only 17 posts and fewer than 500 followers have 500,000 page views? Well, as it would turn out, Big Knee Lover didn't just make bad fetish art, he royally pissed people off. But to understand why, we have to understand his work. Big Knee Lover is a fetish artist who draws your favorite female characters with big, bouncy, swollen, distended knees. And in the grand scheme, that's hardly the weirdest thing out there. But that's not the whole story. And it all went down on May 8th of 2015, when he posted his flagship artwork, a Microsoft Paint drawing of Hatsune Miku with big, swollen knees. And less than 24 hours later, he'd kicked the hornet's nest. On May 9th, he uploaded an image many of you have probably seen at least once: the biggest knees. And the comments were not only endless, but overwhelmingly negative. By November 28th, 4chan users had become aware of this little facet of DeviantArt degeneracy. And to say they didn't...
Boa noite.
Você vai jantar?
Logo, logo. Quando vocês...
Vamos agora?
didn't get it, puts it mildly. Shock, horror, disgust, and in no time at all, an Encyclopedia Dramatica entry fumbling desperately to explain how such artwork could possibly exist. And though there's little evidence from the time, there was speculation among many that this was simply too bad to be real. Surely, people thought, he must be trolling. And between the comments threatening suicide and telling Big Knee Lover exactly what he should do with his account, there was a really interesting debate taking place about consent. But in order to fully explore that, we have to step back and ask ourselves a very uncomfortable question. Why were people so upset by this? And what's the deal with the knee fetish?
Quando você conecta seu alarme Verisure, sua casa fica protegida contra roubo. Protegemos todos os acessos à sua casa, com sensores avançados em portas e janelas para detectar o ladrão antes que ele entre. E em caso de intrusão, respondemos dentro de 60 segundos. Em nossa central...
Rule 34. If it exists, there's porn of it. And in today's day and age, the rules of the internet are a fun but extremely dated signpost from a bygone era, but that doesn't make them any less true. The first known usage of Rule 34 comes from this 2003 panel from the webcomic Zoom Out, where the author expresses a very familiar dismay after finding out about Calvin and Hobbes' tie. The reason Rule 34 caught on the way it did is because it's so obviously self-evident, so much so that two cornerstone adult websites are named after it. And as much as the web has changed over the last 20 years, nothing has remained so constant as people's desire to take your favorite characters and draw them doing things they should never do. But how do big knees fit into this? After all, Rule 34 largely refers to adult content of specific characters. But there are exceptions. And Big Knee Lover is an interesting case because he can be explained by the much less notorious, but equally true, Rule 41. If it exists, it's somebody's fetish. And knowing this, let's explain how a knee fetish works. In researching this topic, it was immediately obvious that if this is real, it's incredibly rare. A cursory look through DeviantArt only produces a single-digit amount of blurry screenshots of the elbows and knees of various anime characters. And based on the tags, we're probably on the right track. The spicy My Little Pony site only has 38 entries, the Hub has none, and the one discussion site with a relevant entry actually refers back to Big Knee Lover. The only solid evidence for a knee fetish is this dangerously based angel fire site, kneefetish.com, which contains 2% discussions of a knee fetish and 98% threats to kill random people. But there is some insight there. As the site reads, all you people, look around. There are many knees. Some are ugly, some are beautiful, some are hairy. Just enjoy yourself.
Os meus são
Stop
cabeludos.
and look at the knees. But
Meu
greater
Deus.
minds have done the work for us. According to this blog published shortly after Big Knee Lover's debut, the knee fetish is actually named genuphilia, and it can best be understood as a form of partialism, which is a fetish focused on a very specific part of the body. And we can do the intellectual exercise of where these fetishes come from and what they mean all day long, but I would much rather get into why this art pissed people off as bad as it did. 2016. Shortly after 4chan users became aware of Big Knee Lover's postings, his comment sections were flooded with hate. And that's not shocking given 4chan's reputation, but what feels so out of place here is how badly people reacted. After all, DeviantArt fetishes have a tendency to get way more extreme than this, to the extent that you wouldn't even know it was fetish art unless you were part of a very specific community. But Big Knee Lover made 3 crucial mistakes. The first was posting anything in 2016. The second is that he committed the cardinal sin of posting fetish art that was just a little bit too fetishistic. How do we know? As with most fetish art, the combination of a recognizable character and a bizarre focus on a body part that looks strange or a situation that feels out of place is a dead giveaway. Not to mention that knees were a particularly unusual choice. And in the age of 2016 edginess and the thirst for new cringe, few sins were less forgivable than being just a little bit weirder than people wanted. And his third mistake was messing with Undertale people. Though Undertale needs no introduction, it was a very popular RPG that came out in 2015 with a very dedicated fanbase. The 2016 Undertale fandom had a horrendous reputation, descending like a flesh-eating swarm on anyone who played the game a little different than you were supposed to play the game, or portrayed a character in a way people didn't like. And while it wasn't all fans, it was enough to light the spark. March 2016, Big Knee Lover uploaded the simply titled Undyne, complete with 2 bulbous knees that eclipse her lower legs. The comments exploded with vitriol, and they would continue this way for every subsequent post until Big Knee Lover left the internet for good 5 years later. And we'll get back to that shortly. On the one hand, Big Knee Lover's style was becoming super dated, reminiscent of the otaku craze that swept DeviantArt in the 2000s. By the mid to late 2010s, the hyper-stylized anime look had totally gone out of fashion. Fan art itself took on a much more sleek and streamlined character, and it was considered pretty passé to flaunt the fact that your art had been made in Microsoft Paint. On the other hand, the knee fetish was safe for work, but just weird enough to be able to send to your normie friend and say, hey, look at this crazy thing I saw on the internet. And on the other hand, to return way back to this debate about consent, there was actually something pretty interesting happening in the comments. Because shit flinging aside, ask yourself this: when is it okay to post fetish art? Now, the answer may seem straightforward. It's okay when everyone in the room is okay with it. But what happens when not everyone knows that they're looking at it? Is it actually ethical to make someone participate in your fetish, even if they don't know? And that's the larger issue with DeviantArt fetishes and with Big Knee Lover, because supernatural ability of his to piss off the angriest fandoms aside, even if his work was satire, it was pointing at an actual issue. DeviantArt, like every website, has terms of service, and though fetish art thrives there, there are rules against posting extremely explicit content, and this creates a very unusual environment in which obscure, non-sexual fetish art can flourish. Think about how often you've come across inflation, or giant women, or a man transforming into a diaper. While it may be funny removed from its original context, things change when you fully appreciate the fact that it was probably drawn one-handed. Not to mention that certain fetish artists get their jollies by making what looks like innocuous artwork, understood by people who are into it, and making unwilling participants of a fetish those who don't know what it is. And on a more serious note, what happens when you put a child's cartoon character in a fetish situation? One of the more serious issues facing YouTube at the moment is the sheer availability of freaky content aimed at children. What to a kid might be a funny cartoon about Sonic pooping in a diaper should be alarming to anyone who can see the bigger picture. And while it's extremely unlikely that a given child stumbled upon Big Knee Lover's work, it does bring up the much more uncomfortable question of what it means to consent to seeing something online. Because how do you police adult content when you can barely even describe what makes it adult? And while it would be super illuminating to hear from the artist himself, it seems that the hate got to him. Between endless waves of hurtful comments and mocking Reddit posts, Big Knee Lover would quietly make his exit from the internet forever on July 7th of 2021. Although in the description of his final piece he cites forgetting about DeviantArt as the reason for his spare uploads, it's much more likely that he was effectively bullied off the platform. Big Knee Lover, satire or not, occupied a very uncomfortable niche between the fetish world and the normal internet, but straddling those two extremes proved impossible, and that was the last time anyone had ever heard of him. So what became of his legacy? If Big Knee Lover continues to upload under an alias, nobody's found him, and it seems that without his contributions, the knee fetish community has very little to show for itself. This guy was just at a place, at a time, posting dated 2000s style fetish art during the violent transition into the late 2010s internet. And if he is still out there, waiting, it's only a matter of time before he uploads something that'll inevitably bring the internet to its knees. This has been an art history lesson.
Meu, falou que tem negócio assim contra coisas extremamente explícitas, essas coisas lá no. Caralho, tipo, já vi uns gore com foto realista de cadáver lá, tipo. Não foi tirado. Devem tem uns negócios muito bizarros.
Welcome back to the Papa Meat channel. How you doing? How you doing? Coming in and sitting down because today we're talking about cults. You know, cults are a reoccurring theme on this channel. I love talking about them, like Linda at Profundity Yours, or even the cult of Costco, or even I would say Disney adults. They're all cults. But this time we're looking at a cult that's a bit more devious, dare I say a bit more delicious. We're of course talking about the Yellow Deli cult. This is a cult that completely operates and is ran out of, you guessed it, a deli to basically fund their communal lifestyle, their habits. It's a big deli. It's a big deli family, but they're a cult. Like Subway. Subway cult?
Was Jared the leader?
Jared's doing something. They've been talked about and infiltrated by various content creators on YouTube because of the mistreatment of their members, borderline slavery,
slave workers too.
Did he really just tell me that they're slave workers?
And child abuse, which is it really a cult if there's not child abuse, dude. And with all this recent media exposure, I thought now would be a better time than any to talk about him. Because today we're going to be taking a look at the 12 tribes, aka the Yellow Deli. But the real cult name is the 12 tribes, but they're known for the Yellow Deli. The 12 tribes is a Christian fundamentalist communal group that was founded in 1972 by 35-year-old Albert Eugene Spriggs in Chattanooga, Tennessee. After experiencing a life-changing event, Eugene confessed the sinfulness of his past and dedicated his life to Christ.
I want to know what happened.
Eugene doesn't even want to talk about it. He's like, I'm squared away with the big guy upstairs. That's all you need to know about. Like, what'd you do, though? Squared away with the big guy upstairs. All you need to know about. Though he was soon disillusioned with modern Christianity and the ever-growing counterculture movement during that time. Seeking a return to authentic faith, Eugene wanted to create a community that embodied the values of the early first century Christian church as depicted in the book of Acts. He got pretty Puritan pretty fast, right? He's just like, they had it right hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Why are we singing songs with guitars now? Go back. That's when he decided to, A, change his name to Yonek, the Anointed One. Sounds like a Magic of the Gathering card. Then he also decided to, B, open up a sandwich shop called the Yellow Deli. And then he created the Vine Christian Community Church, which later became the Northeast Kingdom Community Church, which then later became what we know as the 12 Tribes Church. He got there, dude. The 12 Tribes thing was always there. He's like, I am Yonek, the chief of this tribe. And then after a while, he's just like, well, we gotta, let's ease people into the water.
What?
But I just told him my name's
the-
Yonak. The group was a blend of Eugene's personal beliefs with elements of both Christianity and Judaism mixed together. I thought that was just Christianity anyways. Give me a little more of that, okay? This included shared possessions, communal living, and daily worship. It's a nice little witch's brew, a nice little concoction, starting a cult. You have a great car. You know, God wants us to share the car. Like, well, you got your Toyota. He's like, yeah, you got the Mercedes. And technically, my Toyota is yours, so that's technically mine. Also, we're all gonna sleep together. We're gonna be fucking together. I got the daily worship thing, too. And we're gonna worship daily. Everyone's like, can we not get a day off, dude? Their number one goal is to spread their influence around the world in an attempt to bring the second coming of Yahshua or Jesus. Sounds like kind of like another Yonek. A guy named Joshua is like, I'm Yahshua now. More importantly, it's the apocalypse.
Today's video is sponsored by Fume, the leaders in flavored air.
I got my share of bad habits, and
don't tell me, I'm sure you've got yours. And when it's time to quit, I use Fume. Fume is an award-winning flavored air device that helps you fill the void when you're ditching a bad habit. And the best part is, Fume's not a vape. There's no vapor, allowing you to use it anywhere. Plus, there's no nicotine, no toxic flavors, and no batteries involved. And Fume is meant to fidget with. With satisfying snaps and clicks, Fume is there to calm you down when you're feeling anxious. I found that Fume is super easy to use, and some of the best flavors are Orange Vanilla, and Crisp Mad. Fume has served over 300,000 customers, and you can be the next success story. For a limited time, use my code PAPAMADE to get your free topper. It's a perfect accessory for your Fume device. Slip it onto your mouthpiece for a softer, warmer feel. Head to tryfume.com, that's tryfum.com, and use code PAPAMADE, or scan the QR code on screen to get your free Fume topper when you order your journey pack today. Thank you to Fume for sponsoring this video and back to the video.
They want to bring the apocalypse. Why do people want to do that? In religious cult and religious groups, why would you pray for everything to end? I get you get to go to heaven, and it's like salvation, and all the people who were like, you suck. It's like a bully, whatever. He's like, and then they die, and I get to go up here, and it's awesome.
It's almost being like, I'm better than everyone else when this happened.
I believed in this. My faith was right. You were wrong. You. That's why people want the apocalypse. Also, in the apocalypse, do they die too, or is it kind of like a little tractor beam that sucks them
Tractor beam.
Like this is the end, whatever. In order to do this, they have spent several decades appealing to youth and enticing them to take an interest in joining their community so that they can restore the 12 tribes of Israel as prophesied in the Bible. You restore the tribes, you're probably seeing some kind of sea shanty of something, and then Jesus will return and f***ing Death Star laser the planet. Also like how they're just like, that's the only way to go to heaven. You gotta blow up the planet. It's all gonna be gone. All life has to cease. Hell on earth. Their most successful method of recruitment is through the creation of the Yellow Deli, which has become a worldwide establishment with over 30 locations that are often planted near group churches. Dude, they really capitalized on America's obesity. Like, kids love sandwiches. Cold cuts and chips. We'll give it to them. Originally, the Yellow Deli was intended to be a refuge for runaways and hitchhikers, but soon became one of the main ways the 12 tribes began funding their operations, as well as provide a nice and welcoming environment to potential new members. So it was the 70s where it was just post-hippie, still some runaway people. We got the Dahmer thing. The Dahmer got some people. Ate them up.
They would purposely look for people who, like any cult, who are down on their luck.
Basically, the Yellow Deli was a little hippie food store where they're just like, we don't care. Your dad died? Come on in and have a sandwich. Talk to us about it. You addicted to weed? Because it's the 70s? Come on in. Those that are employed at the Yellow Deli or any of their other businesses are not paid for their work. They are volunteering all of their time. So if you see somebody working the Yellow Deli or any of the 12 tribes businesses, there's no check. This is communal living, baby. You're paying for your place on the farm. Is there a farm? There's got to be a farm. Of course, there's a f***ing farm.
Look almost Amish.
There's a bunch of farms. All Amish you see on the road are just like f***ing Yellow Deli. In return, they are given a communal living space and resources. The little caveat is you just have to work for 16 hours a day. Not a bad deal, and then you immediately get to sleep for 8 hours. That's pretty fair. 16 hours on, 8 hours off. As soon as you clock out, you just crawl immediately into bed and you restart it the next day. I think that's fair. On the surface, the 12 tribes just seem like a bunch of hippies living on a commune, making sandwiches and praying for the end times to come. They just want hell on earth so they can be sent to the great castle above. But if we dig a little deeper, we start to see why the 12 tribes has been classified as a cult. Not just a fun religious movement, Nick. But just like any good cult, you need a charismatic leader. Not only do you have to have charisma, but they also often lead with total control, which Eugene fits the bill. I'm disgusted you used his dead name.
Yonek, sorry.
Yeah, Yonek. What's his name? Since the 12 tribes believes in Christian fundamentalism, this means that they must adhere to strict and literal interpretation of the Christian Bible with some Judeo influence, such as strict rules for women covering head. The toe during prayer to hide any skin. Or how Proverbs 13:24 says, "He who spares the rod hates his son, but he who loves him is diligent to discipline him." Thus, they practiced physical discipline using a thin rod deemed, quote, the rod of authority, to spank their children.
From 6 months old on, they beat the children with little sticks. And anybody can beat anybody's child.
They also follow the book of Revelations, and their mission is to gather the 12 biblical tribes and produce an army of 144,000 male virgins who would set the stage for Christ's second coming.
They believe if they recruit 144,000 virgins, that all the virgins are going to get sacrificed, so Yeshua, their leader, will come back.
And over time as the cult grew, Eugene started to implement more and more strict rules upon his followers, which often pressured his disciples to follow blindly in order to avoid being ostracized from their sacred community. According to some members, this extended to how much toilet paper could be used, and even the shapes of people's glasses. So here's a breakdown of some of the rules and belief system that is in 12 tribes. The very first thing you must do upon entering the cult is to abandon your name and adopt a Hebrew name. This signifies a spiritual rebirth and connection to early Israelites. The next thing you have to do is give up all your possessions before entering the community. This makes members more dependent on the group, thus making it harder to leave. I bet you anything too, it's like you have to give up all your possessions. He's like, just put it in this storage container I have downtown. Really, it's not a big deal. You can keep it there. He just sells everything. Once a member, you must prove yourself a person chosen by God, and that the ultimate goal is to bring about the second coming of Jesus. That means members need to follow the teachings perfectly from a young age so that they can be saved when God comes down and destroys the earth in the end times, like Galactus or another kind of large entity, maybe Frieza. What if Jesus came down? He was like floated above the earth, and he's like... Which also means children are expected to be perfect embodiment of the 12 tribes, which has resulted in a lot of child abuse. A lot. When I'm saying that there's a lot of child abuse, this is your warning. You can't go back from here, okay? This is not a two-way road. There's not a little U-turn. This is a one-way. A lot of child abuse happening. Do you remember the rod of authority? Well, that is a sacred item in every house within the 12 tribes community. If you're in the